field. Look, in fact, that car might even be on the grass. I think it is.
I think it's Daniel Peters that makes a good start, but he's behind George Turicki then, challenging. So he's come through with Dale Gent as well. So, and Reece Jones is back. Reece Jones is the leader. So as Reece Jones sticks on the grid, managed to grab the lead here with speed as they come to the end of the lap. Plenty of changes on this opening lap of the race. Yeah, Turicki no longer leads, he's second. So it's Reece Jones then in fact that has come through as the leader from sixth on the grid. Second is Turicki and third is Dale Gent, and the rest are quite far behind at this stage. Looks like Simon Ward's had a moment in the middle sector, so it's Daniel Fisher. In fact, it's Daniel Fisher you saw off the road. But here come the top three, and indeed it is 40 that leads, then Reece Jones by about a second already over George Turicki in second. Third is Dale Gent, fourth is David O'Regan, fifth is Mark Willis, who's come through from 13th on the grid. In sixth is Paul Tompkins, seventh is Danny Hunn. From the back of the grid, Dean Tompkins is up to 8th, so Peters has dropped to 9th somewhere in all of that. Alan Cooper is in 10th position, so a real mix-up on the first lap, as I think you say. A number of drivers had some moments in those conditions.
I just wonder if it was Dan Peters that went off at the exit of Agostini. It could well have been he's lost those places. And Paul Willis, well, Paul Willis has been in trucks a few years now. He's a very experienced driver. So I think in fifth place with him chasing O'Regan, we can see quite a little battle on.
It's Reece Jones though really pulling away at the front. He's been a four-time winner this year and he's getting away from George Turicki there in second place. We've got Dale Gent for company, and then there's this big gap back to fourth. David O'Regan from Mark Willis there in fifth place and catching him. And Mark Willis, yes, he was quite a bit quicker than O'Regan in that first sector, so a battle starting to emerge for fourth place, but in these conditions a very different type of race is breaking out. George Turicki in second is massively sideways through the Oggies corner there, the right-hander, but he managed to hold on to it, but that might have allowed Dale Gent to get a little bit closer to him than what he was previously. So the leading trucks turn out onto the Bentley Straight for what is lap 2 of 9, and Reece Jones continuing to break away up front in truck number 40. Second is still Turicki, third is Gent. For fourth, O'Regan is holding on ahead of Mark Willis for now. Sixth position is Tompkins ahead of Danny Hunn. Fast started, Dean Tompkins has actually lost a place on this lap. Daniel Peters is on championship 8th position. So after the moment he had on that first lap started to regain position through Forum Curve, comes the lead in 3. Headed by Reece Jones then. They turn their way down towards Murray for 4. Mark Willis trying to go round the outside of David O'Regan, which gives the inside line for Murray, and he can spot through. It's going to becoming difficult to the exit of the corner, so can David O'Regan get back alongside on the exit to the final turn? He absolutely can, and he goes back ahead. That Murray's corner, lots of people try moves there, but it generally doesn't work out, and in the end David O'Regan I think got a bigger gap than he had before. The fastest lap is with the leader, Reece Jones, 2 minutes 40.4, which is over half a minute slower than what they were doing in the dry, so that shows you how tricky it is out there. So it's Jones from Turicki, from Gent, from O'Regan, from Willis. Paul Tompkins is still 6th from Danny Hunn. Dan Peters in 8th, then Dean Tompkins in 9th, and Alan Cooper 10th. In 11th position, Roger Dorman. Simon Ward from pole is down to 12th. 13th recovering after that spin at Oggies on lap 1 is Michael Smith. 14th is Jamie Littrop. In 15th is Paul Jones, and in 16th position is Gavin Pike. There's one for the pit lane, which is number 52, James Goldstraw has headed into the pits. We're on to lap 3, and for second place, George Turicki being caught at the start of the lap by Dale Gent. So the back of a second could be on before too much longer. The gap was over a second at the start of the lap, but through sector 1 it come down, and again for fourth, Mark Willis having a go to get fourth position away from David O'Regan. They turn their way through the Hamilton corner, and he's done it down the inside, so that is Willis now up to fourth. And he'll be chasing after Dale Gent, who's gone off at Oggies. He's gone out over the grass, didn't lose too much time, but is no longer on the tail of the George Turicki truck. So Rhys Jones getting away all the time at the front. Turicki second, third Gent, new fourth place man is Mark Willis, who remember started 13th. So he's progressing well. A big spin at Oggies corner there. So the truck has rotated and he's going to get back going. That's truck number 7, I think. That's Roger Dormer, who has spun out of 11th position. He's battling for 10th with Alan Cooper. And trying to get past him, and it went a bit pear-shaped to Oggies and spun out. The middle sector, George Turicki coming back at Rhys Jones. He was quicker through there. So we shall see by the end of the lap whether that lead gap has come down. It was 1.3 seconds, it doesn't really look any less than that. Jones was quite a bit quicker in the first third of the lap, Turicki quicker in the middle section. In sector 3, so these first 3 trucks somewhere ahead of Mark Willis in 4th position. Has an awkward line, I think, through Murray. But anyway, here we do come to complete 3 laps. Rhys Jones does a 2 minute 39.8, which is the new fastest lap. The gap goes out to 1.5 seconds to Turicki. Dale Gent is 3rd, Mark Willis is 4th, 5th is David O'Regan, 6th is Paul Tompkins, and it's side by side for 7th because Daniel Petters is now getting the better of Danny Hunn for 7th position. So that's a change of position then into 7th, and Petters is lapping as quick as the leaders here. He's a second behind Paul Tompkins, so that's who he's going after next. In 9th position is Dean Tompkins. Up to 10th has come Michael Smith after he's off at the start, so he's progressing. 11th is Alan Cooper. 12th after that spin is Roger Dormer, but he recovered pretty rapidly, to be fair. In 13th is Jamie Lipchop. 14th is Simon Ward. 15th is the truck of Paul Jones. And we've had another truck into the pit lane, and that is number 13, Richard Ayling, that looks to have withdrawn from this race. This is lap 4. The trucks are on now, and it is being headed by Rhys Jones, who in the first sector was closed in on by George Turicki. So the gap, which was 1.5 seconds, was reduced in the first third of the lap. They turn their way into Oggies with Dale Gent trying to chase them. Then in 4th position, the quickest of the 4 leaders through the first part of the lap was Mark Willis, so he's pulling away from David O'Regan. For 6th, Paul Tompkins has been caught by Dan Petters, who's right now behind the 6th place truck as they head up towards the right-hander at Williams. He has a little look to the inside, which will give him a better exit onto the Bentley Straight. Will he be able to challenge Paul Tompkins on the run down towards Brundle underneath the bridge? They're side by side before they get there, so it looks like a good chance here that Daniel Petters will move into 6th position as they get down to Brundle. That moves me well to the lead. George Turicki continued to catch Rhys Jones on this lap, so what was a 1.5 second lead is less than that now as they turn through Coram for the 4th time in this race. Then Dale Gent is falling away in 3rd, but being caught by 65 Mark Willis, so they turn their way down towards the final corner at Murray and accelerate across the line. So 1.53 seconds was gap first to second after 3 laps. It comes 1.21 after 4 laps. So it's a better final sector, means the gap is a bit bigger than what it was half a lap ago between Rhys Jones and George Turicki. But the fastest lap of the race goes to 65 Mark Willis. 2 minutes 38.896. That's a second faster than anybody else is going. So how far up the order can truck 86 Daniel Petters, 65 Mark Willis get here after that fastest lap? He's 3 seconds behind Dale Gent, but going, as we say, quite a bit quicker than the truck in front. David O'Regan is 5th. 6th catching him is Daniel Petters, who's also actually in the 38, so he's doing the same kind of times as Mark Willis. So he did get ahead of Paul Tompkins.